What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is Strange Planet. And man, it's been an interesting week in the news this past week, huh? Unbelievable. Where to start, really, but I guess there's the lawsuit with Fox News and Dominion. For those that don't know, Dominion is the company that counts all the votes. And if you could remember, when Trump was crying that the 2020 election was rigged and it was stolen and all that other bull crap, Dominion stood up and they were like, no, our machines do work and this is bullshit. And the election wasn't rigged. And right when you thought there was going to be a trial in which they would have to testify, nope. There was a settlement for nearly $1 billion. I think the actual number was $878 million. And that's about it. I guess lying comes with an incredible cost. And Fox News would know firsthand. But in other news, scumbag Tucker Carlson was fired from Fox News after I can't even tell you how many years he's been there poisoning the people. And lastly, Don Lemon was actually fired from CNN. Matter of fact, I'm not 100% on this, but I'm pretty sure they were both fired the same day, too. So that's also pretty interesting. But I guess going back to the Dominion lawsuit with Fox News, we're going to start there. So what do you guys think?
Well, I'm happy that they got penalized. I'm not happy that any of the information got, put out in the open where people can consume it. Because there's a lot of people out there who don't know what went on. They just know that Fox News got hit with a lawsuit. I'm probably thinking, oh, no, they'll beat this. Yeah, yeah. And then they hear that it's settled. I'm like, oh, well, whatever. They have the money.
See, my take is that's the problem, though, with the whole thing. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm glad what happened and how it happened and how it ended. It all makes sense. But the one thing that I'm a little curious about was I kind of feel like, not that they got away, because clearly there's, the company's got to throw nearly $1 billion
Hold on. Before you say that the company has to throw nearly $1 billion, there's one thing you should realize.
Okay.
It's a tax write-off for them.
Right, and okay, that's very true too. But also, doesn't it seem like they got away almost with it in a sense? Because they almost had to testify about this, which would have been a mess for them. But now there was suddenly a settlement.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. A settlement doesn't involve admitting any wrongdoing or guilt or, anything having to do with...
It's not like a redaction, technically, then, right?
Right. It's as if they didn't do anything wrong. And so... they're free to go about their business and continue lying to people and continue spreading Trump propaganda and right-wing propaganda and lies. They're free to do that.
And bullshit, for real. Because that was my theory on the whole thing. Like, it's still generally, it makes sense and it was the right thing to do. But not only does it kind of, like you said, though, it makes them slip under the rug, but realistically, it still exploits the fact that they've been spouting bullshit for like.
Well, the fact that they are willing to pay out close to $1 billion kind of tells you a little something about their guilt.
Right.
But, it comes short of them actually acknowledging their wrongdoing. And this establishes a precedent whereby a company that commits wrongdoing and just lies and lies and lies to the public when they're a news business and they have a responsibility to report the news accurately, they can just lie. And when they get caught telling grandiose lies over and over again, then, you just pay a sum of money and that's it. Move on.
Right. You just write a check. Like, that's insanity, though, if you think about it. That's very poor journalism.
I don't think that is a good precedent to set for our country.
No, definitely not. And sadly, though, it's been for quite some time.
I would have liked to see this go forward.
I would have loved to see that. Yeah, like I was looking forward to it, to a sense, but looks like we're not going to be seeing that, unfortunately.
And it probably would have had a favorable outcome given the
circumstances, right?
Like Fox knew they were screwed. All the testimony that came out about Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and all the people there at Fox, they were literally in the business nightly of lying to the public and knowingly lying to the public.
Literally, too. You're not kidding about the knowingly part. Like, they knew it was bullshit, but still spewed it over the airwaves. You know what I mean? Like, just to see who they would buy it. Because the problem with it, if you think about it, is most of the media in general is consumer based in a sense. So you're paying for them to tell you what you want to hear. So it's like it's strange. You see what I'm saying in a sense? So it's it's a weird situation with them and the whole concept.
Well, they're
Rob,
beholden to advertising, and so you have companies that buy spots in terms of ads, and the news companies are in the business of selling those ads, so they need to keep people viewing and watching. And obviously, that's how news gets spread anyway, but they have an incentive to give people what they want to hear so that they keep listening and keep watching.
Right. And then the repetition, then it becomes practice. Like, you know what I mean? It's the same kind of concepts rolling over and over and over, just fitting their agenda.
it's just when it comes to media, it's do you want it controlled by somebody or do you want it freelance where everyone can do it? And in this country, we do it freelance, so this way the government doesn't control the media. But at the same time, it's not in the hands of the everyday, common Joe, where we can just want the truth. It's for ratings, so they always show the bad news, just happening in town, and then you have the people who own these companies who decide that I'm going to start spreading this information rather than this information, and you start to wonder who can you trust as a media source. And while you look at many that are out there to say they have somewhat reputable, you know, reputations and so on, when you really look at Fox News, you can't say that at all, especially with what's been happening with, the last, 6, 8 years. So, I mean, I don't like the fact that none of the information from the lawsuit, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rook, but it's a tax write off. Does that mean that the American government is paying for that?
In a sense, in the form of, they're not going to be collecting those taxes from Fox, and Fox gets to basically say, you know what? We operated at a loss on this. So, yeah, we're just going to pay out this money, but not to the federal government. So, our tax liability that we owe to the federal government is going to be a lot lower. So, because of their wrongdoing and the fact that they have to pay out, they're going to pay less tax dollars when comes time to pay taxes.
Isn't that interesting how it works there?
I think there should be a stipulation there somewhere. I'm not saying that there is. I'm saying, like, if we could control the world in a normal sense and not everyone being super greedy, that there should be stipulation that if a company is at fault or claims to be at fault, like if they plead guilty to whatever and settle behind closed doors, they should still be taxed. I mean, I
Well, that's the
understand.
thing. They don't plead guilty. They don't admit. That's the criminal sense, but they don't admit liability in the civil sense. They're not liable for anything.
There's like no
They didn't do
accountability.
anything wrong. They didn't. There was no negligence. Nothing that the company did was wrong. They just, paid this money. Sort of like Donald Trump with his like hush money.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, nothing went on here.
Yep,
Yeah.
nothing to see.
It's almost as if nothing happened. But what a settlement does is it precludes the lawsuit on the same facts from going forward. So now Dominion can't bring a suit alleging that Fox News defamed them.
Right.
Now there's another company other than Dominion called Smartmatic, and they're suing Fox for I think 2.7 billion.
You said it was called what again?
Smartmatic.
Smartmatic. Okay.
And they're also suing Fox. So we'll see how they handle that, whether they'll try to settle or whether they'll actually go to trial. But Fox News is not out of the woods yet, and a lot of the testimony that has come out with regard to the lies that they were telling, if there are a lot of the same underlying facts with regard to the case, then a lot of that testimony can be either brought in or at least retestified to
No
in
kidding.
this Smartmatic case.
That's good to know.
So
That really mixes the pot
yeah,
up a little.
it's not the end. Fox is not out of the woods yet, but that may be the reason why they got rid of Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson.
That was our next direction there.
You know, it's not over yet, but this guy clearly was at the helm of telling the most egregious lies to the American public, night in and night out.
On the regular, like,
He,
sad.
honestly, like, even more so than Trump, he was Putin's bitch, basically. I've never seen someone in American public so vehemently pro-Russia. It's just unconscionable. Like, I just don't understand. Like, he, night in and night out, would, sort of galvanize viewers to not support Ukraine and to support Russia. He downplayed Trump's connections and or support or tacit approval of Russia. There's a lot of Republicans who sort of lean that way, but I don't think anyone has been as vehemently pro-Russia in the public as Tucker Carlson.
And like spewing it on the regular too. It's not like this is like a once occurrence. You know what I mean? This is like a regular thing with him for the most part. And it's fucking scary to see. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, not since Michael Flynn, who was photographed having dinner with Putin, or, he was in Russia having dinner with Putin. Mind you, he was a Trump national security advisor, and he was at like a Putin sort of like a war dinner or something, like celebrating or, just celebrating Putin. And this is a guy who was a general. He was actually in the Obama administration at the beginning because he carried over from the previous Bush administration. But, he was, very high up, and he became Trump's national security advisor. And for him to, after his stint with Trump was done, to go over to Russia, who, as we know, was in the midst of trying to elect Trump and to interfere in our election in various ways, for a former general and national security advisor to have dinner with our enemy to celebrate him. I think that it's not treason per se, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah, seriously, it really is.
Like, treason is, legally speaking, you have to be at war with a country, and there's no formal declaration of war against Russia. Even though we were in the Cold War, there was no formal declaration of war then. We don't declare war anymore.
Right, right.
And so to actually rise to the level of treason, you can't really do that these days. But the type of behavior and disloyalty that Michael Flynn showed to this country, and now Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson is in a position of responsibility because Michael Flynn, he is a high up general, but no one's really listening to Michael Flynn every night.
Right.
As national security advisor, he was the advisor to Trump. And yes, there was some pretty serious advice that he was tasked with giving Trump. However, he is not primarily, or in any sense, he was not tasked with speaking to the American people. Whereas Tucker Carlson, every fucking night, went on television and spoke to the American people and told them lies and convinced them, or tried to convince them, that Russia was not our enemy and to capitulate to Russia, to allow Russia to do basically whatever it wanted in our elections and to be okay with that. And so while Michael Flynn was definitely not a good actor, I think that he was less impactful than Tucker Carlson.
I would agree. Because that's not someone that spoke to the American public every single night, spewing nothing but chaos and lies and for some reason favoritism towards Russia. Like it's just I never thought I'd see this, to tell you the truth, especially like on a regular basis. You know what I mean? Like I said this joke once before, and I'm going to say it again only because it's sadly it seems to be a reality. But it's like if Russia were to invade, God forbid, like America, you'd have like 60% of the country saying like "Holy shit," and then getting ready for warfare, and then the other 40% would be like, "Wait a minute, let's hear him out." Like, you know what I mean? Like, you serious? Like, it makes no sense at all. It really don't. And there's nothing to admire about a person like Putin at all. That's the definition of a dictator.
He's a wanted war criminal. Like he literally can't set foot in many countries because they are tasked with arresting him.
Right. Not to mention, if you're a journalist in this country and you speak negative against them, you usually end up dead. Like this is crazy. Or you fall out a window. You know what I mean? Or something like that. Or trip down a flight of stairs.
It's usually poison.
Or it's poison, which is the general.
Pretty predictable.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
He's not really that inventive.
Yeah,
it's poison.
Back to the drawing board for that, right? Just a simple, simple methods, I guess. But like, it's crazy that I guess there is part of the American public that's actually buying that bullshit. But see, that's the danger of it. You keep spewing nonsense and bullshit. I think it was from, the wannabe dictator himself, Trump, in his book that he didn't write. He even said something about like, you tell a lie and then you say it 3 or 4 times and then it becomes a reality. No, that's not how it works. No.
Well, who said that, right? That was Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf.
Yep. Wow. Shit. Guess we have such high standards here, huh? On another note, going towards Tucker Carlson again. Now, don't get me wrong. I've hated this guy forever. But I guess, yeah, I'm pleased that he got fired and he's gone. But people need to also sadly realize that he's probably not gone forever. It's only a matter of time for this scumbag either has his own podcast so he can spew more lies and bullshit on that, or if he ends up in like Breitbart or like one of those, crazy ass extreme right wing websites or something and just, continues his poison over there. I mean, how do you guys feel about that? Right? You know what I mean? So we escape it for now, but it really, unfortunately, is only for so long. You know what I mean? And the sadder part is if he ends up on one of those, they'll feed an egg on and keep paying more and more into that bullshit, and probably even more so than Fox was. So like it's that could be dangerous down the line, but we're also jumping the gun right now. But it's probably inevitable, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many conservatives and Republicans right now who aren't interested in facts, and already they're trying to say that Tucker Carlson was, they're giving excuses. They pay no attention to the lies that he told. They don't question them, but they're saying, oh, it's Fox News is the enemy now because they're punishing Tucker for speaking out against the vaccines, or like
what? Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Unbelievable.
They just can't come to grips with the fact that they were lied to, and so they'll come up with anything.
Seriously.
Anything to distract them from the truth.
Right. And the reality, too, just speaking on that vaccine thing for a minute, there's a lot of people alive because of that vaccine. You know what I mean? So it's like you go and say something like that, it's so contradictory. That's going to really jumble things up. People are not going to know up from down. You know what I mean? You keep spewing bullshit like that.
Well, yeah, but also, yeah, I think they got rid of Tucker Carlson because he was a liability to the tune of almost $1 billion, $800 million, and a lot more to come in terms of the other lawsuit. So that's probably why he was fired, and he probably wasn't that friendly with the executives at Fox after
Yeah,
all of
that.
that. But, Fox is guilty as fuck too, because they
Exactly.
tolerated this. They enjoyed the ratings for as long as they did.
Right.
And, you know, it's not like he hid his lies. He told them every night, and Rupert Murdoch was aware of his lies. There's really no excuse that Fox can give. They gave Tucker Carlson a platform for many, many years. And, it's unfortunate that they're going to bear the brunt of criticism from their own viewers. But yeah, they brought it on themselves.
I mean, think about who Tucker Carlson actually is as a person, as scary as that thought is. But judging by all the shit he spews out and basically racist comments and all sorts of crap, you also have a guy that was born pretty much into money, if I'm not mistaken. He's even said, I think, out loud before that, like, he didn't even have to work if he didn't want to because of the success of his family inheritances and stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
Who, Tucker Carlson?
Yeah.
I believe you're right. I don't know the details.
I forget the details because I don't remember exactly what his father did. I want to say it was possibly the same thing or similar to, but regardless, like I actually hope there isn't people out there like, oh, I hope he's going to be okay. He's going to be fine. Like, you know what I mean? He's like a second generation, maybe third generation rich kid or whatnot. And it's only a matter before his hate speeches all end up somewhere else or on his own podcast. So it's sad to say. It's still, I feel like, a good thing that this happened, but technically it's like a step in the right direction. But reality wise, it's you know what I mean? You take one forward, pretty soon it'll just be caught back up.
Yeah, I mean, he'll definitely land pretty softly.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
and that's the only unfortunate part out of the whole thing.
He's really just a scapegoat, if you think about it, because by escaping the actual trial from the lawsuit about anything, getting any information out, they dodged the bullet of really being ridiculed for doing all that, and then they get right off their. Oh, I don't know if that's such a big deal, but whatever. They look at it as like, all right, tax write-off, we'll get to pay less taxes. They fire Tucker Carlson. They know he's gonna go somewhere. They know he'll be fine. And then they just get to continue their normal bullshit that's not as extreme as it has been, but it's still gonna be bullshit.
I kind of see what you're saying though, because it in turn kind of does make them look a little guilty. Not that they aren't, because they are, but like by them not only with the settlement, but then firing someone that's been there spewing that bullshit for this long, and you do it now. Yeah, it's interesting. Everything about this is very, very interesting. But it was 878 million to be exact. I'm pretty sure was the number.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not in any way feeling sorry for Tucker Carlson.
No, me neither. Yeah, I'm just saying it's like the shark at the sea. You know what I mean? It was here and then it left, but it's going to eventually swim back, unfortunately. You know what I mean? And that's the unfortunate part. But I guess one thing I think we probably all agree upon here is that it seems, to me at least, the way things are running, is that if you spew bullshit, especially on the regular, and add as many lies rather as you want, and when you get caught, it seems like in the end it's just a price you'll have to pay. Once again, it just comes down to money.
Yeah.
So you just can pay it off.
As long as you can.
But that doesn't show a real good standard. You know what I mean? That I feel like when that's seen from an outside
standard, you get away with something for as long as you can, and then I guess don't worry about it later.
Right, and then, or you just worrying about it is just opening your wallet and seeing how deep it'll go. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like that's the sad part, like the whole thing. So I figured we'd all be pretty much agreed on that. And I guess in recent news, too, the other thing to add is that at the same day, if I'm not mistaken, that Tucker Carlson's bitch ass got fired, Don Lemon, CNN gave Don Lemon the boot. And I don't know entirely all the details, but I think, Rook, you were talking about it. It had something to do with comment he made towards, I guess, Nikki Haley or something.
Yeah, so I forget, a few weeks back, Nikki Haley was... she had just announced that she was running for president, and I guess one of her proposals while she was campaigning was that perhaps there should be cognitive tests for older candidates, sort of giving some red meat to the Republican base who says that Biden is senile and, he's too old to run for president.
Yeah, Sleeping Joe and all that other crap.
Meanwhile, Trump is spring chicken there.
Right.
So what Don Lemon commented on was he said that Nikki Haley herself, you shouldn't be asking for these cognitive tests because Nikki Haley is a woman who herself is past her prime. And so that was interpreted as being a sort of sexist remark, which I could see how it would be insensitive in terms of sexism, because he did note her gender in saying that she was past her prime. And there is sort of a social stigma against women getting older and, sort of that thing. So that was a careless comment.
Yeah, you're right.
By Don Lemon. However, I heard zero criticism about presidential candidate Nikki Haley for even broader discrimination against older candidates. Don Lemon was just singling out women who were older. It wasn't necessarily a strictly sexist argument, but it was women over a particular age. It was definitely insensitive towards women and older women, but Nikki Haley's comment was insensitive towards older men and older women, but she received no criticism at all.
Yeah, what kind of sense does that make?
Any criticism was lost in the march to criticize Don Lemon. Now, Don Lemon, he was given a few days off, to sort of become educated about sexism and whatnot. And then it, kind of went away. Now, did it completely disappear? No, there was a little bit of unease there. But, you thought that Don Lemon would survive this with his career at CNN. He's been there for 17 years or something. And so when it came time to, shortly after they announced that Tucker Carlson had been fired from Fox News, CNN announced, or Don Lemon and CNN, I don't know who announced first, but they announced that Don Lemon was being fired. And so I guess maybe CNN thought they could, just sneak this story, along with the, it would be a great time to release this story. To
squeak this one past real quick.
Squeak it in while everyone's focused on Tucker Carlson.
Right.
Because Tucker Carlson, I think he was like the biggest name in nightly news, unfortunately. And he replaced sort of Bill O'Reilly and even Sean Hannity in terms of his, I think, viewership and sort of leader of the conservative MAGA right-wing news. And so I think CNN has had definitely a lot of shakeups recently in terms of Chris Cuomo, they got rid of.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And Don Lemon now. And, it's when they got rid of Cuomo, it wasn't really stated why. We kind of know why, in terms of there was an investigation into his brother, obviously, who was governor of New York, for inappropriate sexual relationships or attempted relationships with women, including a police officer. That was very bold on his part, but he abused his power, and as his brother, Chris Cuomo, who was an anchor on CNN, was, I guess, advising or consulting his brother, as you would expect a brother to do. And so it's unclear exactly why Chris Cuomo was fired. There was some talk about Chris Cuomo, making calls on behalf of Governor Cuomo to sort of, I guess, not massage testimony, but to, I guess, get out ahead of any stories of women that were going to speak against his brother. And so there was talk of him, getting involved more than just merely consulting him as his brother. And so, but CNN, of course, they never said anything about, why. And I think that these news organizations, both Fox and CNN, and any other news organization, really owes it to the public to explain to them why they're taking these actions in terms of terminating their news anchors who they've relied upon for year after year and night after night to deliver facts and news to people. And you can't just get rid of them one day and say, oh, you know what? Thank you for your years and years of service. You were so great, but we're just going to move on. And
right.
and
let the door hit you on the way out.
and then not give an explanation as to why this occurred.
Right.
To not explain to viewers exactly what they found when investigating them, what came up, what reason, because, talking to his brother, that's not really a reason to fire Chris Cuomo. Of course he's going to talk to his brother.
Right. I agree with you on that.
About the case. But if he was more involved, as some reports have surfaced, I think CNN has an obligation to report on that and to cite that as a consideration in terms of why they fired him. And same with Fox News. They just came out and said, you know what? We're just not going to have Tucker Carlson anymore. We mutually agreed to separate. But that's not the real reason why. We need to know why. Was it because he lied to viewers for year after year after year after year and fomented this sort of environment in this country where people are deluded into believing bullshit night after night? Is that why? But no, they don't fucking tell us.
Of course not, because that's probably the part of the reason, if not the whole reason, if you think about it.
Right, and that's the reason they paid $800 million rather than disclose the truth.
The truth, once again, which is what the people seek and deserve to know.
Now they can continue to lie to people night after night if they so choose.
Yeah, it gives them a get out of jail free card.
In a more responsible or covert way, but they show they have no problem with lying as long as they don't get caught.
Basically, or they could just write the check if, God forbid, shit is the fan. But if you take someone like Tucker Carlson and then you look at Don Lemon, it's like you can't really compare the two of them. They're not, yeah, they're obviously one's a Republican, the other one's a Democrat. But when you watch Don Lemon, he wasn't, promoting Russia, inciting crazy ass lies and theories. They're very different with their facts that they put out. You know what I mean?
Well, their sins were very different.
Right. I'm not saying that, technically Don Lemon's exonerated because he's had his fuck ups too, I'm sure. But the bottom line is the general information putting out is not just also reciting bullshit, even during ex-President Trump, rather. Just, spewing more and more of his bullshit and lies just, to feed the more kerosene to the fire. You know what I mean? If anything, he was speaking out against a lot of that. You know what I mean? Justifying wrongdoings and incorrect decision making. And, you know what I mean? I feel like, not that it's necessarily a bad thing that he's gone, because if you take the two into consideration, I had a lot more respect for Don Lemon.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan or on the bandwagon, but just considering the two of them in this conversation for right now, you know what I mean? There's one person that literally just spews nothing but lies and racism pretty much. And then the other one, which, you get general knowledge from generally, but it's not like I said, he's not rowling shit up over there or praising Putin or comparing them, you know what I mean? Or saying that, they're doing such great things over there. Or during the war with Ukraine, he's, siding with Russia over Ukraine, who's being invaded still.
Well, the sad fact of the matter is that Don Don Lemon is CNN's pound of flesh that they're sacrificing for the viewers. It's just sad because it's like with Tucker Carlson. He's their scapegoat. He's their sacrificial lamb, and that's basically what's happening with Don Lemon too.
That was a big lamb, though.
But that was a very big lamb. That was like the big ham, practically, if you think about it. Don Lemon, I'm not going to say what he said wasn't wrong, but all I'm going to say is on Fox's network, and even just going from the 4 years of Trump's presidency.
Oh, they say that on a nightly basis.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's why I kind of feel like the standard is not level here in a sense.
Oh, it's not.
Like CNN, yeah, they still did what they did. But the bottom line is I still don't see what he said really. He could have worded it better, maybe. But you just turn on Fox right now, you're gonna hear something worse than what he said.
He could have made his point in a very different way that didn't border on sexism. He could have said, "Hold on, Nikki Haley, you're saying you want people to take cognitive tests. You're not exactly that young yourself. Why would you want someone to take cognitive tests? Why can't everyone take cognitive tests?" That would have been a more responsible way of hitting back at her.
Yeah.
But he unfortunately noted her gender in terms of what the prime age, quote unquote, of a woman is.
Right, and I guess that's the trigger. You know what I mean?
That was unnecessary to me.
Right. Which is why, in turn, I'm not defending him, but just in this sense, you look at this, we're zoomed in, zoom out a little, and then, it's interesting when you see that perspective too.
The only thing that I can say about the whole situation is that it's basically we're in a zero tolerance society for some things, apparently, not everything. But you can't, you can't talk about females or any gender at this point, for that matter. You can dump on males all you want, but that's pretty much all you can do. So beyond that, it's just, I don't know. You fuck up, you fucked up. People are going to call you on it.
And that's our show for this week. Strange Planet will have new episodes on YouTube every Friday. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.